All right, so here we go with distributing polynomials and greatest common factor, or GCF. We're just going to get right into some examples here. We're going to distribute 100 or multiply 100 times 0.3x plus 0.11. So we're going to multiply the 100 to both terms, this term here and then this term second. And when we multiply by 100, that does mean just move the decimal places over. So that's going to, the decimal places just going to move over 2 spots. So that'll be 30x there. So when you're multiplying or dividing by 100, you do not need a calculator. So now we have 100 times 0.11. Move the decimal place over 2 spots. And there we go, plus 11. Let's look at another example. 5/6 times 12x plus 42. Again, this is going to be distributing. So 5/6 times 12. So remember, with multiplying a whole number and a fraction, that's going to be divide by the denominator, 6 in this case, and multiply by 5. So here we go. 12 divided by 6 makes 2, times 5 makes 10, times x. And then the 5/6 times 42, same thing, divide by 6 and multiply by 5. 42 divided by 6 makes 7, times 5 is a plus 35. All right, let's look at another example here. We're going to go x minus 6 times negative 5. And we're going to be distributing, in air quotes, from the other side, from the right instead of the left. You can distribute in either direction there. So negative times a positive is going to be a negative. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. And then we also have negative 5 times negative 6. Negative times negative is a positive. And then 6 times 5, 30. Here we have x times 5x plus 6. So x times 5x is going to be 5, and then we have x times x, 2x's being multiplied, is going to be x to the second power. Here we have 2 x's being multiplied. Next up, x times 6, that's just going to be a plus 6x. Another example here, 3x squared times 7x plus 8. We're going to go 3x times 7. So in our brains, we'll split this up into 2 smaller questions. We'll do the regular numbers first. 3 times 7, 21. And now we're going to have x squared times x. So we have 2 x's being multiplied times another x being multiplied for a total of 3 x's being multiplied, or x cubed. Then we have 3x squared times 8. Again, numbers first. 3 times 8 is 24. And then we still have the x squared there. Now we have 8 times 3y plus 4z minus 2. So instead of having 2 arrows like over here, we're going to have 3 arrows for our distributive property. So 8 times 3y, multiply the numbers together. That'll be 24y. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4z is going to be a positive. 8 times 4 is 32z. And then 8 times a negative 2 is going to be a negative, and then 16. Now we're going to look at greatest common factor, or GCF. It's also called greatest common divisor because we're looking at what divides into our 2 numbers here. So we have 2 terms here. We got a 21w and a 28. So we're looking at what number divides both 21 and 28. So the greatest common factor between these 2 is going to be 7. 7 divides into 21 and 7 divides into 28. And it is the greatest number that divides them both. Another example here, x squared and 7x. We're looking at what number divides both the x squared and the 7x. Well, there's no number that divides them both because that's just a 1x squared there. So now we're looking at the variables. So between x squared and 7x, well, a single x goes into both x squared and 7x. So that would just be x for the greatest common factor. Here we go. Between y to the 7th and a 5y cubed, we're looking for the greatest common factor. So there's no single number, so that's just a 1y to the 7th there and a 5 there, so no number divides both. So now we'll look at the variables. Again, we like to split this up into separate, smaller questions. So how many y's divide both into the y to the 7th and the 5y cubed? So in this case here, 3 y's can divide into both. So that would be a y to the 3rd power. I can divide 3 y's out of this one and divide up to 7 y's on this one, but specifically 3. Here we go, 3z squared and a negative 18z. We're looking for the greatest common factor. So what number divides both 3 and 18? The biggest number that divides them both is a 3. 3 divides into 3 and 3 divides into 18. Now we're looking for the variables. What variable divides both the z squared and the z there? That's just a single z.